Okay, I'll make a start with this resident engagement session this afternoon. My name is Councillor Gary Haley. I'm Deputy Leader of Gateshead Council. Just as I say, a very warm welcome to members of the public who are listening. This is one of a series of engagement events we hold with various different groups across Gateshead, stakeholders, children, young people, employees, but probably most importantly, residents of Gateshead. So we've got two updates this afternoon. One from Dale Owens, the Chief Executive of Gateshead Council, followed by Chief Inspector Tom Hart from Northumbria Police. There is a Q&A session, the Q&A function where you can type in any questions that you would like to submit, and they will be monitored and then read out as part of the chat later in the presentation after Dale and Tom. So with that, I'll just hand over to Dale Owens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haley, and hello everybody. I'm Dale Owens, the Chief Exec here at Gateshead Council. Really pleased to be with you this afternoon. Just a couple of updates from me. I think we've just been undertaking a resident survey across the borough of Gateshead, and some of the priorities that our residents have told us about are particularly in relation to antisocial behaviour and some of the areas in relation to that. So really welcome to see our Northumbria Police colleagues on the session with us this afternoon. Just in terms of updates by way of council areas, I think I just wanted to sort of cover the issue around flags and sort of what the council's doing in terms of response to that. So I'm sure colleagues and residents will understand that, you know, the erection of these things on public lampposts and areas, we do take a risk assessment based on that in terms of, you know, is it appropriate, is it causing an obstruction? This does take a lot of our resource from our environmental teams and our highways teams in terms of being able to either take these down where they are causing an obstruction or they are dangerous. And so we have to divert valuable resource away from what would be, you know, street cleansing, highways maintenance to be able to manage some of these issues. So our recommendation to residents would always be that if you want to display the flag, that's absolutely fine, but you can do that on your own property without having to put that on places like public highways and lampposts. However, where that does happen, we'll take a risk-based approach to that. So we're not saying that we're going to go out and remove those en masse, but what we are doing is any that is causing an obstruction or any that are causing particularly damage to the highways, particularly roundabouts, mini roundabouts, then we will go out and we will remove that sort of graffiti, if you like, on the main roundabouts. I think our request is of residents is to display, you know, your flags appropriately in appropriate sort of places, and particularly on private property. That's absolutely fine. But where they are in the public, then we have to in public areas we do have to take that risk-based approach. And everything that we do take down, we have to divert our existing resource away from the main job. So it's within that in mind, we want people to be aware of that, I suppose, in terms of that. But having said that, you know, residents have said in terms of the survey, and we'll be publishing the survey results very soon for residents to see. But they have said one of the priorities is around antisocial behaviour across Gateshead, and so we will be prioritising that through an action plan and working with our colleagues across all agencies to make sure that we respond appropriately to that going forward in terms of that. So, I mean, that's all I wanted to say today, just a bit of an update on flags. We are taking a pragmatic approach to it. It isn't that we're sending out crews to remove everything. We wouldn't do that. But where it is causing an obstruction, and particularly where there is any graffiti that is racist in language or offensive, then we will remove that immediately, as you'd expect us to. So that's the update from me. I'm going to hand you over to our police colleagues just to give their updates. So over to Tom. Thank you.
Thank you for that warm introduction. So my name's Thomas Hart. I'm the Chief Inspector for Northumbria Police, and I've got the portfolio for communities here at Gateshead, and I'm here to give a 5-minute update in relation to what we've been doing, both in terms of our strategic relationship with the local authority and also from a Northumbria only point of view in relation to Operation Shield, which is our operation to reduce crime and antisocial behaviour in the town centre. So what we have found from a lot of the feedback that we're getting from our communities is back in the January that there were some significant perceptions around antisocial behaviour and violent crime linked to the area of the interchange and around the town centre. So we came up with a bit of an operation around that. It was called Operation Basildon, which targeted certain high risk offenders that were kind of frequenting the interchange on a weekend and that had been named as being responsible for certain violent crime. Operation Basildon was very, very successful. We saw over 4 prosecutions resulting in prison sentences. after following up on information. What we also do is we have what's known as a tasking coordination group within the police, where we can bid for specialist resources, including motor patrols, firearms and the mounted section. For over 6 months, we've operated mounted patrols in and around the town centre as far up as Bensham, and what we find is that they are very well received. The public really love any time they see a police officer is on horseback. We've seen over 12,000 dedicated policing hours in relation to the town centre through Sergeant Nick Minto and his team. We've implemented a series of meetings called Town Centre Together, where we're implementing discussions with our business partners and also residents to find out what the problems are. In conjunction with Gateshead Local Authority, we've come up with a public space protection order, which gives us further powers in order to be able to respond to street drinking and antisocial behaviour which is linked to alcohol. That's seen us implement a series of fines over the last 6 months. Nick Minto is working with our recovery partners in and around Jackson Street about how we can divert people who are persistently coming to police attention into recovery partnerships to give us that long-term prevention piece. And what we are seeing is, in terms of statistics, over August alone, we've seen a 45% reduction in antisocial behaviour compared to August in 2024, and a 20% reduction in the last 12 months, which gives us an indication of the impact that high visibility policing is having. Over the next 6 months, we've got a darker nights process. We're seeing our shifts changing both in the lead up and the weekends after bonfire night and Halloween, where we do see antisocial behaviour increase. And we've also got some patrol plans in and around Christmas when we will see the footfall increase. What we are starting to see is there is a massive amount of regeneration going in the town centre, and we want to support that from a policing point of view. If we're putting money in the town centre, it's only fair that we create a safe and welcoming environment for people to come into the area. Obviously, with the railway quarter, we're starting to see the emergence of a licensing and a nighttime economy. We're seeing visible patrols being placed on a Friday and Saturday night down there, and we also have a plan in order to be able to increase that should we see those licensing hours increase. So that's just to give you a bit of a snapshot over what you've seen from Northumbria Police over the last 4 months and what you can expect to see us over the winter. But I'd welcome any questions from people in the chat.
Great, thanks Dale and Tom for that. Ian, can I turn to you just to deal with any of the questions that have come in, please?
Absolutely, Chair. So I've had 2 pre-submitted questions with regards to works in relation to High Street South and when that work will commence.
Okay, shall I take that one, Deputy Leader? Just in terms of sort of the work that is ongoing, it's already started, it's fair to say. We are quite advanced in terms of the planning around sort of the redevelopment of High Street South. Cabinet recently approved, sort of gave approval for officers to move towards compulsory purchase, what should that be necessary. However, we are encouraging any of those businesses that are still operating to engage with council officers to work with us on sort of a purchase of those buildings so that we can move on with the regeneration. In the meantime, we are planning to demolish a couple of properties on High Street South, and that will be planned sort of for early 2026. In terms of starting to the demolition works where those properties are in our ownership, but ultimately we are moving to fully clear that area, and then that will be part of the wider regeneration for housing. So those plans are in place, the permissions are in place for us to progress with the compulsory purchase. However, we would encourage any residents or any business owners who want to sort of sell their businesses to allow for the regeneration to take place to engage with the council at their earliest opportunity. The quicker we can do that, and we can work in partnership with people to get a really positive solution for High Street South, the quicker the regeneration can start, and then the quicker we can move into really sort of developing new neighbourhoods and housing for people of Gateshead as we take that forward. So that's where we are, but certainly you'll start to see some physical demolition early in the new year.
Okay, thank you, Dale. Any other questions, Ian?
There is, Chair's one just been submitted. Can anything be done making landlords, residents aware about cleaning graffiti on landlord private residences? I think specific reference to Swarwell looking very bad at the moment. You feel very intimidated, and I think the suggestion is has already been reported. So I think one can pick up the latter aspect. So I think primarily it's around promotion of cleaning of graffiti.
Yeah,
I think it's, sorry Dale, it's fair to say that it's not just residents who are frustrated by this. I think every councillor in Gateshead is also frustrated by graffiti. As Dale mentioned earlier, offensive and racist graffiti is removed immediately by the council wherever it is. But a lot of graffiti that's on private property, the council's role is to engage with those building owners, and a lot of it's on sort of telecoms infrastructure, for instance. So there's a role for the council in terms of engaging with the owners of those businesses. But yes, it's a frustration for all of us, and we'd like to see it all gone and it never to come back, frankly. But Dale, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just obviously we've increased and we've doubled our capacity around graffiti removal as a result of the additional monies agreed by council sort of this year, and so that has taken place. However, the demand is outstripping ultimately the capacity that we've got. What we will do though is we'll work with those private landlords and business owners through our enforcement teams to be able to make sure that graffiti is removed, and we're also working with the likes of your telephone companies and to sort of have a long-term approach to those graffiti, the graffiti on those sorts of bits of infrastructure as well. But yes, so it's a mix of, you know, working in partnership. We will remove anything that's offensive. We will work in partnership with businesses as much as we can, but there is an enforcement angle on that we'll take forward, and obviously I'll raise with the officers on the back of today's session about having a look in terms of what that looks like in Swalwell, particularly on the back of today's session. So I'll raise that with officers to make sure that we respond accordingly. Thanks,
Dale. Anything else, Ian?
No, that's all coming, Chair.
Okay, that was a short and very focused session for residents. Thank you for anyone who has dialed in and joined the conversation, and thank you for the questions that have been submitted. As Dale said, this will be made available via social media, so people can tune in and watch at their leisure. So thanks very much everyone for your attendance. Bye.